Alright, this is a standard version 2 AEG gearbox. There's actually two design flaws with the version 2 gearbox. So the first off, which is really simple, is the trigger shuttle spring catches on this part right here. Now on the VSC gearbox, it's pretty robust, but there are some other gearboxes where this is really brittle or really small and it snaps off. What happens is your trigger won't work right after that. So it's very rare for that to happen. Once it happens, it's basically toast. I would just buy a new gearbox. The bigger problem with gearboxes for version 2s is the front of the gearbox. So you have to remember that the version 2 gearbox is made by Tokamori originally in Japan, for Japan, and their FPS limit is basically 320 FPS with the 0.2. So since they have such a low pressure, the way it's designed, it's perfectly fine unless you do like 100,000 BBs. But problem with anywhere else is because we have the bigger springs and the piston slamming against the front of the gearbox, it'll actually cause fractures here and here and then here because of the way it's hitting the front. Now, for an example of what it looks like when that does start happening, I have a way older Tokamori gearbox, much beefier spring, a lot of use to it. So you can see there's hairline fracture right here, and a little bit here. So the way to fix that is you have to take apart a gearbox and check the corners right here. What you can do is you can take a file, round that off. So what that'll do, it'll stop the pressure point from being right here and open up a little bit more so it's against the front of the gearbox and a little bit of the bottom of the gearbox, and it spreads out the force a little bit easier, and it's a lot less likely for those cracks to form, like here. So another thing is when you're buying a used gun, the very first thing you do is you turn the gun upside down. And the reason for that is you can see the bottom of the gearbox much easier. So if there's a crack in the gearbox, you'll see it through the magazine well, and you'll see it through in this area here. So it's a very easy thing to check for before doing anything else. So, and then recently-ish, the other difference between version 2 gearboxes is the quick change spring. This one, of course, is not quick change. You have to take apart the entire gearbox to get to that spring to swap it. But newer gearboxes, they have a quick change feature. The spring guide can actually just be rotated as locking position. Turn the screwdriver, get unlocking, it'll come out, so you can swap the spring without taking apart the entire gearbox, which is pretty nice. Yeah, you still have to take apart the gearbox. There are some other models where you don't have to take the gearbox out of the gun to do that. So, but if it's a Crytek, something like that, it's more of a quick-ish change spring as opposed to a quick change gearbox. But yeah, that is really the only differences for version 2 gearboxes. And if you want to get something fancy, you can get like aluminum aircraft grade ones. But yeah, unless you want to spend money on that, I don't think it's really an issue. Just get like a Tokamori gearbox or a VSC gearbox or the gearbox brand that is for your gun. So if you're using a Classic Armory gun, get a Classic Armory gearbox. That way you don't run into fitment issues or compatibility issues, stuff like that. But yeah, that is version 2 gearbox.